Welcome back to Day One Energy, the podcast for entrepreneurs. Today we have an amazing guest on. To my right, I have Mr. Ben Vickers. Ben, it's a pleasure to have you here today on the podcast. Would you mind introducing yourself and a little bit of what you do and who you are?
Background, short summary.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Awesome to be on podcasts like this. My name is Ben Vickers. Pretty extensive background. It's a long story, which I won't go into. So to summarize it up, which is, I guess, around the businesses that I operate and what they do, how long they've been around. So I've got 3 businesses. We'll start from oldest to youngest. So the oldest business is called Custom Buckles Australia, and we make, produce, and sell custom belt buckles. I know it sounds strange. It is. It is very niche. And we predominantly service the mining and construction industry. So believe it or not, the mining and construction industry has been providing their team and staff with belt buckles for hundreds of years for when they meet milestones on their projects. We fell into this by accident, which is a whole nother story in itself. So, which we might dig into a bit. Business number 2 is called Crew Capital. That was started in 2020. And that is a managed investment fund. So essentially what we do is we take investment rounds from people and we invest their money across different industries, crypto, ASX and the NASDAQ. And that's a minimum 12-month hold, and then we provide payments to those people based on the results after that period. Just a little quick highlight here. We just paid out Group 3, which invested early 2023. They just got paid out last week at a 220% return. Oh. So they're very happy. And kids are getting nice Christmas presents this year. And business number 4 is Fired Up. And Fired Up was started in February this year. It was started as basically a business and management consultancy backed up with a podcast. So the podcast is all around educating and helping people with startup phase or growth phase within their business and all the different aspects that come across that. We bring on guests who have got specialties in marketing, finance, fitness and health, the whole collective thing as what it takes to be an entrepreneur, because it's not just business. There's a lot more that goes into it. We're very selective around the clients that we bring on. So only working with a handful of clients, don't want any more. And we work with those where we can add massive value, who are doing businesses that we're very passionate about.
Busy.
Yeah.
That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Got a lot going on.
Yeah.
So belt buckles, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Why belt buckles?
Like I said, we fell into it by accident. So I'll try and summarize this very quickly. But and I have done an episode on this, which you would be able to find if you go and look us up. But essentially what happened, my brother-in-law now, he wasn't back then, but this is my wife's brother, amazing designer and marketer. And he was just making all these really cool designs and stuff. And I said to him, can you send that to me? I want to get it put on a T-shirt. And he said, do you think we could sell these T-shirts? And my brain is always like, hell yeah, let's figure this out. So, we started getting some T-shirts made, and we actually, put a barcode on them and made it scarce. So it was like 1 of 50. And we started building the website, and I invested maybe only $10K into getting things set up. And then he decided that he was going to go live in Samoa and live at a surf camp and live that lifestyle. Yeah, wow. So I lost probably the most important part of the business, which was the designer, because without the designs, what are we going to sell? Mm. And just by mistake, one of these days I was looking through different textiles and fabrics and T-shirts, an ad came up on the right-hand side, some supplier trying to sell belt buckles. And I thought, shit, that's interesting. And it was funny stuff, it was quirky stuff, it was beer labels, it was sports teams, all that kind of crap. It was junk, basically. But I thought, do you know what? I don't know anyone else is doing this. I've got the website built. All I have to do is swap out T-shirts for belt buckles and come up with a new name. And I came up with a fantastic business name, which I thought at the time, which was called Buck U. So Buck U was born. Stock was bought, probably had about 20 in the product line, bought about 10 of each. So I had to outlay for stock and then belts and then packaging and all this sort of stuff. And then one day I got an order and I was very excited about that. I took the buckle off the shelf, packaged it up, sent it off to the customer. once I went and looked at the numbers, I was like, I just lost $15 doing that because of what everything cost me versus what I charged them for it. So I thought, shit, this is not going to be good. I'm either going to have to put the prices way up to cover costs and make a profit, or I'm going to have to sell a shit ton of volume. And just by complete fluke, one day the phone rings, and I had to say, "Fuck you." And he's like, "Excuse me." I was like, "No, fuck you." I'm trying to say it properly. Hence, I thought I need to change the name. But he said, "Hey, just come across your website. Random question, but I run an engineering company. Could you make buckles with our logo on them?" And I said, "Yeah, of course can. How many do you want?" He said 50. I said, "Yep, cool. I'm just busy right now. I'll give you a call back and we'll do a quote and a design." And I found a guy in Tasmania that actually does make buckles. I got him to do the design. He did the quote for me, and I looked at the cost price of that and went, shit, there's actually a bit of margin there. So I went back to the customer, said, here's your design, here's your price. And he said, sounds great, let's do it. So that's when the light bulb moment sort of happened. And I went, well, yeah, custom could work because it's B2B, not B2C, which is a preference. It's all custom, so it's going to be money up front. I don't have to carry any stock, and that's when the whole thing kind of changed. Now, what happened was someone, after we did those buckles, one of his customers who received the buckle calls up, hey, can I get a quote for 100? I run a trucking company. Then his person who received that called up and said, I run a mining equipment business. Can I? And it just kind of grew and grew from there. And it's been what was a side hustle, because it's 16 years old, has been fantastic for what we've been able to do. And now we're like, because got 16 years behind us, we've got big reviews behind us, big companies, Rio, Tees, BHP, it just goes on and on. You know, those businesses, if you're providing them a service and that service is outstanding and the value's there and the product's good and the quality's good, they're not going to go anywhere else. And money doesn't matter too much.
Yeah. That's crazy that it grew like that. Off camera, you just said you've grown this business of 16 years with no advertisement.
No.
Which is crazy because, I mean, you listen to a lot of podcasts, you watch a lot of videos on social media, and everyone's like, you need to spend a lot of money on marketing. And I spend a lot of money on marketing. I know you do too.
There is one disclaimer there, because I did, was it last year, year before, partnered with a company called Australian Mining Review.
Yeah.
So they actually have a huge print and online distribution to all of the mine sites. So last year we partnered with them. We run like a A3 print ad in their monthly distribution that goes to all mine sites. That's duplicated online. And we also did some EDM work with them as well, because they had 148,000 mining contacts on their database.
So it's just like extreme targeted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not kind of showering any info and offers and things through social media. I felt that for that business, who's got the market of the people that we want to get in front with, and that was them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Is it processed and systemized now?
Yes.
So
it could always be better. I don't think you ever get to the point and go, that's done.
Yeah.
I still look at things and go, that could be better. I'm also thinking about, well, what does this look like in the future, as it relates to maybe like 3D printing, as it relates to AI. A lot of the work in that first stage of the process is designing it. So they send a bunch of images, logos, and some ideas, but then that design work has to happen. So that's what I'm kind of thinking about now, is what kind of technology could we build into that, where it's upload my logo, choose a style, shrink, decrease, add color, remove color, where they could actually do the design themselves.
Order.
Done. Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You got it thought out.
Thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, Day One Energy is the name of the podcast, obviously. And given you've been running this business for a long time, I want to write back to that. How do you maintain the Day One energy within running not just one, but 3 businesses? And I'm sure you've got a extensive investment line yourself and family and a whole lot. How do you maintain Day One energy throughout all of the chaos that you live in day-to-day life?
Yeah. And I think it's a really important part, right? Because it is hard, and you just seem to be putting in more effort, more energy, more time, more money. And it just it never ends. I think for me, Day One energy is about it's all about progress. So if things aren't evolving, if things aren't improving, and that's not just financially, but overall, then that's where the motivation starts to die. Like if I'm slogging my guts and the things are going backwards, that's going to deplete me and demotivate me, because what is the point in doing it if it's actually not progressing? So it's got to progress me. Am I growing? Is the business progressing? Is it getting better? Are my customers progressing? Are they happier? Do they want more? I think it's about always feeling that, is this business better than it was last week, last month, last year? If the answer is no, then you might want to reconsider what you're doing, because sometimes it's the right time to kill the business as well and get into something that you are hungry about to keep that day one energy and keep that progression.
Wow.
There you go.
I think that's up there with one of the best answers
answers
we've had for that.
Yeah. One of the questions we normally start off with, which I didn't today, taking us back to day one, and that for a lot of people has been back to the first day we decided to start a business, where a lot of the young people who have come and gone, well, I just did it straight out of school. But you had quite a few jobs before starting a business, a few management jobs, a few jobs quite high up in some big companies. I mean, you explained how you just stumbled across the belt buckles. Have you always been a bit of an entrepreneur? Have you always wanted your own business? Or where was day one? Where was the day where you went, I need to start a business?
Yeah, so it probably goes back to when I was 15, and I spoke about this at the Forge event, which is like when you're young, your parents make all your decisions for you. You've got no decision ability at all. That's what you're eating, that's where you're sleeping, that's what you'll wear, that's where you'll go to school, they're the friends. So I really was getting the shits with the decision my parents were making, and it was like I went to 27 schools, I lived in 100 homes. So that early motivation came to the point of like, as soon as I can fucking make my own decisions, I'm going to. So obviously school was a bit of a challenge, and then also the stability of the childhood and stuff, which is not a sob story. It is absolutely my hero story, because it's who created my motivation and everything else for this. But the principal called me into the office one day and said, 2 choices will expel you or you can leave. And I said, well, I'm keen as to leave, because I had a part-time job at a fish and chip shop, and I knew that I would be able to go full-time into that. So as soon as I could get full-time, and I was like making money, now I can make my own decisions. This is where I'm going to live. This is what I'm going to drive. This is who I'm going to hang out with. So it was more not to start the business, but I was like,
craved the independence.
The independence. And where do you get independence from? It's the independence from making your own decisions. Well, how do I get in a position to make my own decisions? I need to make my own income. So where that led to from there was I was like, fuck, I'm sorry that I'm kind of starting off a difficult foot here. My only opportunity to succeed in this world, whether it's in a company or with my own thing, is to learn from people who have done it and work my ass off, because that's all you've got, buddy.
Yeah.
You don't have an education. You don't have everything else.
Yeah.
So even at the fish and chip shop, I worked my ass off. I got there early. I did an amazing job. I chewed his brain out for, why do you do this? Why is that much cash in the till? Why do you order on Friday? And just built that education over there. And as I hopped from job to job, I was able to progress quite quickly. Even at school, I bought a screen printing thing and cut out the Hot Tuna logo from a surf magazine and started making T-shirts and selling those at school. So I was always like a little bit of a hustler, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I was like, hey, I need money.
So your first business was really a T-shirt business?
Ripping off a brand, which I wouldn't be allowed to. But, then that led to, me and my mate started making timber frames for photos and stuff in his garage, and we would sell those, and then we'd go to markets, and then that led to the next thing. So I always had a passion and desire for it, and I was just like, man, making money's good. And it wasn't that hard. So I guess from the employment side of things, that was my stability and that was my education. So as soon as I was ready to level up, I was making those moves pretty quickly. And I'm from New Zealand, if you haven't picked up from the accent, but either at 18, I was running the South Island in New Zealand for Vodafone. So my staff were in their 40s and 50s, and it was just because the guy.
It's crazy being an 18. Like Vodafone's massive.
Yeah, it only just started back then. You know what I mean? Right. So it was very new, and I love that new stuff because it's the grind and it's the startup, and you get to see all aspects of growing a business.
It's fun, and we've mentioned this in a few episodes now. It's not the pursuit of happiness; it's the happiness of the pursuit.
Yep.
And it's fun.
That's good.
Once you start and you feel like the first reward from the hustle, you crave it more and more and more. But obviously, with independence and making your own decisions and that sort of thing, a lot of young people, and I probably struggled with it at first as well. A lot of young people struggle with discipline and independence because. And it's probably one of my favorite things, I guess you could say, because I was always taught when I first got into real estate, my first mentor, he said it's work. Like you get no freedom. I was like, oh, okay. But then I got my independence when I started my business. I got a bit of freedom. I slacked off a bit. Yeah. Right, because the discipline wasn't there. And yeah, it definitely had a massive impact on my growth in the beginning of my business. So the first 6 months definitely didn't grow as fast as I wanted it to. But once I went through that and I saw what not having discipline could do, it definitely changed it. So going from working for companies where there was that discipline there, you had to do it, you were told what to do. How did you go with that change? Did you was that already instilled in you? Like you were just disciplined on yourself anyway, or?
Yeah, I think if you want more, you got to do more, and it's a good point with the jobs. And I find this interesting with people that when they're being paid by an employer, and that employer says, "Hey, we need you in Sydney tomorrow. You're on the red eye at 6:30 a.m." They get up, they get ready, they pack, they plan, they prepare. And when they've got their own business, and you're like, "You better get up at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning and go to the gym." They're like, "I don't have to. I can sleep in." So I find it bizarre, which is like, but you'll do it for them. Surely it's more important to do it for yourself. And I don't know when that transition comes from, but I think most people's lessons come from pain. So to your point, I wish I had done a bit more in the first 6 months. Well, you've got the pain of that now. So you probably know from that experience that you could turn the clock back, the lesson might be different, but that's done now. Going forward, it'll change your viewpoint on everything. So my discipline was there just through absolute fear of not wanting to not have any money, fear of knowing that I can turn up tomorrow and they go, "Sorry, Ben, company's restructured, you don't have a job anymore." I've seen it happen 1,000 times. They clean down the desk, put someone else's name on it. I was like, fuck, so that's not in my control? No, it's not. So I try and move things into my control because then I am basically the input and the output of that experience, and I like that more.
Fear. That's an interesting topic to bring up, actually, because there's a lot of stuff going around. I know that you've seen it on social media at the moment. You've probably seen it too, where people are saying fear is your worst enemy. But in this particular case, fear is what took you to the next step.
It's your drive factor, right?
Yeah.
It's got underlying push.
And I mean, it depends what the fear is. Like, am I scared of the businesses going broke? No.
Why is that?
Because if they do, I'll just start another one.
Fair enough. You've done it enough times now to know how to grow a successful business.
Well, that's right. And it's like, your first rodeo is hard, right? But I mean, it took me years to kind of build custom buckles to what it was.
That's like no pun intended at all.
Yeah, but
buckles and rodeos.
That's it. But then, with Fired Up, I literally had the idea on February the 6th, and then it was just like bang, everything just happened within 30 days. So from idea to launch took 60 days.
Wow.
Website, branding, marketing plan, customers, podcast people were set up, episodes were done.
First client?
First client was 14 days after launch.
Wow.
Which was insane because we had one episode out. I didn't even say what we did. We didn't even offer that as a service. And they just said, "Hey, do you actually provide coaching?" I was like, let's go back to the custom buckles thing. Yeah. Yes, we do.
And the hardest thing is taking action. But once you've taken action, like you just mentioned, everything was done in 30 days. It was set up, it was done, but it's that first step.
Yeah.
It's that day one.
And that's one of my favorite quotes, right? Like, a lot of people want confidence to take action, but you need to take action to get confidence.
Yeah.
So you just go.
Just
do it. Hurry up.
Figure it out.
Figure it out.
As you go.
Because you're not going to figure it out until you do go. So there's no point trying to go, well, let's just work out this and that. It's like, no, go and figure it out on the way, because there's so much that you don't know that you will never figure out until you're actually in it.
I want to I just want to go back to timeline. This is really interesting. I'm really just interested in this. So you went from fish and chips through to Vodafone, through other little bits and pieces on the way.
Yeah.
Vodafone to Telstra. Or do you give
No.
us the timeline? Because I want to get to Toa.
Okay.
And that's what I'm really interested in. When I look over your LinkedIn and I see Toa there, that's something that I want to dive into.
Yeah, cool. So Vodafone was startup at this point.
Yeah.
And I started work with Vodafone in a small retail store, which would be like the equivalent of Woodridge. It was not a good area to be working in. No offense to Woodridge, but it was like, it wasn't the nice shopping mall in the nice area with it was going to be a challenge. But again, same methodology. Got there, worked my ass off, outsold everything else, and I eventually got moved to the head office. Worked my ass off there. They offered me the South Island manager role. Now, one of my clients, because I was now in commercial communications, was Microsoft.
Okay.
So, and they were doing like a whole 250 mobile phones for the corporate business or whatever. So it was a big deal, and it had a lot of eyes on it from the Vodafone point of view. Got the deal, got that done, yay, awards, claps, celebrations, whatever. And then about a month after, I get an email from Microsoft saying that they're about to launch a console called Xbox. And they were looking for someone to take this role on, same for the South Island. And they said, we're super impressed with your blah, 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 blah. Would you be interested? 100%, yes. So we're back into another startup in a new industry.
For Xbox.
For Xbox, yeah.
Wow.
No shit.
So remember maybe you don't, but the big controllers, and this is Halo first came out, and it was we were competing with PlayStation, so it was a competitive space.
PlayStation was massive.
Huge.
Because Sony was huge then.
Yeah, across all of their things, right? So they were the dominant player. Funny thing is, I used to meet the Sony rep in the car park and give him Xbox games because he had an Xbox. So there you go. So yeah, that was again another experience. I'm always looking for the new thing. What are you going to teach me? Because yes, you're going to pay me, but what getting paid to learn is just freaking awesome. Most people pay and go to university and don't learn. So I took that opportunity, and that's when we moved to Australia shortly after that. And a guy that I knew that was with Microsoft said, I see you in Australia. We're launching this new kind of Telstra repping program. Would you be keen on that? So that's when that started. Same theory, worked my ass off. I was based on the Gold Coast. Got the raving reviews, raving sales and everything else. So they offered me the national role for that Telstra Big Pond service, but it was based out of Sydney. So I moved to Sydney, did that. Personal reasons brought me back to the Gold Coast. And then there was a new company coming out to take on the online jobs market called Seek. So this was in 2008, and everyone's like, no one's going to buy it, look for their jobs online. You've got the Courier Mail, you've got the Gold Coast Bulletin, it's $10,000 an ad every Saturday. It's the only way. So there was like 5 of us in Adelaide Street in Brisbane in a shitty little office, and Seek just went from strength to strength and went public, and it's a massive, massive organisation now. So I stayed with them for 7 years, I think it was. That takes me to 2014, and in 2014, my son was born. So I think when you're becoming a father and stuff, the first thing you think about is when you were a child. And I was like, I don't want to fuck this up. So, and I probably will, and I don't know what to do or how to do it. But I was like, you know what? Custom Buckles is going well because, it had been in business for, 6 years now. There was enough money coming in and enough work for me to do. I was like, I'm going to take a year off and spend the first 12 months with the newborn, help out, be present, everything else. And then that's when I think probably about 1 year after, taking that time off is when the phone called. And it was actually one of my clients, one of my customers, when I was at Seek. And he was in an entrepreneurs organization. They meet monthly. It's a kind of network of entrepreneurs. And he called up and said, are you looking for anything at the moment? Because I've met a guy here. His name's Nick Sinclair. And he's starting an offshoring accounting business. And he needs help. And I mentioned you. And he said that I'll try and hook you guys up. So this is when TOA started. It wasn't called that when I started. It was similar. But I'd met Nick a couple of times. I think I was staff member number 1, or he had a part-timer there. It didn't have an office or anything. So, coming from Seek, which was now like this billion-dollar business, and we were staying in high-end hotels and all the nice stuff, this was going right back to square one. Yeah. But, I loved that stuff. And I was like, shit, what's the worst that can happen? I'm going to learn a lot of stuff here. And, we wrote a plan up on the wall, and there was no job description or anything like that. It was just go make it happen. So jumped on a plane, went to the Philippines and started to build the thing out.
Far out.
Yeah. So fast forward to today. I mean, I left there, when was that? August last year. And, that's doing 100 mil plus. I think they've got about 5,000 staff. So that was the real startup education for me.
You followed through the whole process from start to where
I ran every department. Ben's running recruitment this month. Now Ben's running HR. Now Ben's running IT. It's like, I don't fucking know how to do any of this, which is the beauty of it, because when you don't know, you learn quick.
Yeah.
So you learnt pretty much the inside and outs of multiple different businesses from multiple different industries. So you had all the tools you needed to start a business when you started, pretty much.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, whether it was Telstra, Xbox, Vodafone, fish and chips, or outsourcing, offshoring, the fundamental principles are the same. And it's like different product, doesn't matter. Different customer, doesn't matter. The fundamental principles are the same.
What are they?
Systems, process, team, margin, and vision.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think vision plays a big part.
Huge.
Right?
Yep.
You know where you're going.
Yeah, because I think your 12-month view is like short term, and now it's about execution. And then you spend all your time executing, but you need to be going, where am I going? Like, where's the top of the mountain? And you should never get there. It's about taking the next step and trying to climb it. But to go, what if? Like, what if my real estate business in 5 years got 100 staff? What if I opened an office in Melbourne? Like, how would I do that? Because as soon as you start asking yourself these questions, or putting them up on the wall, or thinking about them, things through manifestation or whatever it is, just start to present.
Doors.
Yeah.
What if is one of my favorite things. What if and yes and. Yes and is probably, it's up there for me. When I think it was at a real estate conference I heard it. And I've used it all the time since. Because have you heard of it before?
No, I haven't heard.
So,
like what if, but I haven't heard the other one.
Yeah. So for an example, it's basically just expanding off of people's ideas or your own ideas, as opposed to shutting them down. And it comes to this other side of the fear sort of thing. So if I was to say, I want to build a helicopter, you'd be like, yeah, but do you actually know anything about helicopters?
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, it's like, yeah, and let's put a machine gun on it. And it's yes and, right? When I said yes and, the emotion was different. It was like you start to get excited. When we go, but you're like, yeah. Right? And it's
given the chance for it to exist.
That's it, yeah. The positivity, it's that little dopamine hit that gets you going, yeah. This could work. Yeah, okay.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not?
Exactly.
You can't do that. Why not?
Why not?
Can't put machine guns on. Why not?
Yeah.
Anything is it's possible. Might not be a good idea, but it's possible.
Exactly.
It's changing your perspective, and I think perspective's a really important part in whatever you do. Whether you're in it for the long run or short run. Like you said, there's always a time to exit a business. And I've never thought about exiting my own business. It's just I'm too busy growing it right now. And hearing that you say that actually was like, wow. So that actually is a correct time to go. Not anymore. It's time to move. Yeah. And running, so this is putting you on the spot here, but you've got 3 different businesses right now. And 16 years on one of them. Have you ever thought about exiting, or have you ever considered, has this got a timer on it? Are we timing out soon?
Yeah, so I think it comes back to that day one energy, right? Like if custom buckles was an absolute burden and a pain in the ass and I didn't enjoy it and I hated the customers, then I would shoot it. I would get rid of it. I would sell it. So until that happens, then I think it's worth holding on to. There is the fear of, selling a business when you can sell it versus then you can't when you want to. Yeah. And then things start to go south really quick because of like the stuff that I said that I'm thinking about, the technology and stuff. I don't really have any competitors in that space, or if I do, they're unknowns, and I'm certainly not going, shit, who's taken a piece of this market share. But yeah, I mean, that would be a fear factor for me to go, do you know what? I'm over it, let's sell it, and no one wants to buy it. So there probably is a right time to do that. I think 3 businesses is probably too much. I've just finished reading a book. I think I told you last time we spoke, The One Thing.
Oh, yeah, got it written down.
So I obviously don't have the one thing.
3 things.
I've got the 3 things. So maybe, and my wife and I, every year we go and do roles and goals, and that's happening on Friday this week, and that's around 2025. What are we doing? What are the goals? What are the roles as a husband, wife, parent, sibling? And we then dedicate the time and the blocks and get a clear alignment and understanding of what we're going to do next year. So leading into that, I'm thinking, do I come back to the one thing? Because since I read that book, that's been really playing on my mind. Because I could blow one of these things up quite a lot, or I can keep all 3 doing what they're doing. So
that's true.
TBC, but it's up for conversation at the moment.
Okay.
2 things I got out of that.
You hear it here first on day one. Yeah.
2 things I got out of that then. So the point where you decide it's time to exit the business is where you stop saying what's next. Or I suppose what if? What's next? For, where can I go with this? It's more, do I want to?
Yeah.
Do I want to do this now?
Yeah.
And I just completely lost train of thought. So the other thing was one thing, right? It's very subjective, I guess, because there's a lot of multi-millionaires, billionaires out there that have multiple businesses, but there's also a lot that have just one. They do that one very well. Do you think is that just working at the balance in them, or like what? I suppose what has, because it obviously is working for you having the 3 You say it's too much, but it's obviously working. I mean, is it balance? What?
Oh, I've got balance. Definitely, I think it's around where time and energy. Like if I just had Fired Up, then Fired Up's going to get all my attention, all of my thought, all of my money, all of everything. But I've got to be very who gets what. It's like having 3 kids. It probably is a favourite, but we won't tell them. But they all need time and energy, and it's time, energy, and money. And I mean, the most valuable commodity, in my opinion, is that time. So if I'm going to put my time into something, then it has to produce the biggest reward. Now, reward's not the financial one, because it will always come back to, for me, is to that time and freedom. So this is why I love custom buckles, right? Because I don't see any of my customers. I'm not going to their office. It's very quick and transactional. The margin is fantastic, and it's obviously got that history and longevity that from customer acquisition or marketing point of view, it's almost sometimes like I want to hide in the dark from it. Like, no more orders. Like, stop buying shit off me. It's which is it's a champagne problem to have. But again, it's like if we're not looking at the financial point of view of it, and we're going, what gives you back time and what gives you back freedom, and obviously money's going to be one of those aspects of that, then which one of these is going to be the best option for you to do it? Yep. And look, Fired Up and even Crew Capital, for that point of view, are not old enough to determine what their future looks like. The kid analogy, I just came up with it, but it's great. I'm going to use that because Custom Buckles as a teenager, they're kind of well on their way and they're independent, and I trust them that they're not going to fuck it up. Fired Up's a newborn, keeps shitting their pants, fucking crying all night, and still doesn't, got to feed it, and it's still on the nipple. So that's probably an awesome analogy because Crew Capital is more of like the toddler now. It's walking by itself. It's not waking up throughout the night, which means I'm not getting up throughout the night for it. So yeah, it's just, look, I'm always going to do something because I just feel like when I said to friends or family, like, I'm going to start another business, they're like, you're insane. But it's just, I guess it's built into me. I just love creating stuff. In fact, if you look at the history of the Vodafone and then to Microsoft and stuff, once Vodafone got big, it got boring. Once Microsoft got big, it got boring. Once Toa got big, it got stressful. Wasn't boring, but it was like, that was my life. Like, I was the COO and executive suite. We had board reports. We had, a huge team of finance and marketing and politics now and red tape now. And, all of that stuff comes into play. And I'm like, this is not for me anymore.
You grow.
Put me back in the garage with some guys who are just throwing darts at a board.
Welcome to our Would you like a job?
Spitballing ideas and going, and what? Why not? And then that's where I thrive. I don't like being hamstrung and put in a corner and going, this is what you'll do and this is how you'll do it. Yeah. I'd struggle with that.
I think that's the mindset of an entrepreneur, right? It's like, what's next? Now what?
Can we keep moving? Is that why you started firedup? Because you figured, how can I put myself into the situation where I can get back to that garage without putting myself in the garage financially and emotionally, but I can go in and help people from a coaching point of view and go, I've done this a fair few times now. This is what I'd recommend you do. Yeah.
Well, it's almost like the pay it forward thing, right? And it was actually a friend of mine, Laban Ditchburn, awesome guy. He's written a book called Be Your Own Superhero. He's got a podcast, which is Be Your Own Superhero Podcast. Shout out, Laban. But we had kind of like reconnected because I started, he was, it came up in my feed and he was talking to, who's the guy who runs the podcast, Dropping Bombs?
I couldn't actually tell you.
Dropping Bombs.
Big name.
American, Australian?
American.
Okay, so you like
Brad Lee. So, and I was like, this Laban, and he's on the podcast with Brad Lee, like over in the States. And I was like, and then he was kind of connecting with Joe Rogan and stuff. And I was like, mate, what's happened here?
Yeah,
what's going on? And he said, we haven't connected in years, but I had a drug problem, a sex addiction problem, a gambling problem. And I decided enough's enough. And I just turned my whole shit around. And he just went through this massive transformation. Ran an ultra marathon like 3 months after giving up alcohol. It was like just impossible shit. Wow. 100 kilometers throughout the night and stuff. But he just kept on pushing himself and pushing his limits. And then he was like, fuck, you can achieve things once you push yourself. So anyway, long story short again, we started connecting and he said, so tell me what you're doing. And I told him, I said, but I need like something else. Something's boiling in there. I don't feel satisfied that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And he said, he goes, I coach people on this all the time. It's such an easy question. I said, okay, well, what's the question? He said, what do your friends call you for help and advice for, like when you see them and stuff? And I was like, easy. They're like, Ben, how do I get my business to run better? What should I do with marketing campaign? What stock should I buy? And he's like, well, there you go. Aren't you in the education business now where you should actually share that knowledge and insight?
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck yeah. I got so pumped up about it. And he said, so what do you think the problem is with them? I was like, mate, they just don't get fired up and they're just not making it happen. I went, I'll write that down. And then I was just like, bang, execution mode. And I didn't think, I'd planned, and I said to the wife, this is going to take quite a bit of money to produce good content and quickly because I wasn't going to do it myself. And it won't make a single dollar for the first 12 months. It'll all be money and time and energy in, and that should pay off down the track.
Has it paid off sooner than expected?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Again, which it's activity and discipline, right? I said, cool, this is episode number 1. I'm doing 100 episodes. So I don't care if no one follows it, don't care if no one likes it, don't care if I don't get a client, don't care if this happens. I'm doing 100 episodes. And you just follow that activity. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And if just by following the activity, hey, in they come. To the point now where I'm talking to potential clients and they're like, yep, let's do it. And I'm like, no, it's
not right. Yeah,
it's not right.
Forge event also.
Yeah.
You also mentioned the salt and pepper shaker.
Yeah.
You're really good in that.
Yeah.
Enlighten Jordan.
Oh, the salt and pepper shaker.
Briefly.
I need to get sponsored by those
Yeah, you
guys.
do.
But the thing is, I've never said the company name, right? So people won't align it. But a plumbing company came to my house. I had a leak in the bathroom, and the guy came out, and it felt like he was there forever. He kind of was, like 5 hours clambering around. I was working, and he kept on interrupting me, going, "I've just connected the doodacky to the thing, and I'm going to put the ring washer in it." I'm like, I don't give a shit. Just
do it,
just
dude.
want the thing fixed. But he was like trying to keep me informed and updated, and he was really polite, really respectful, fantastic. He finished the job. He gave me the invoice. It was like $1,800, and I was like, whew, like for a leak. Like, yep, I guess so. It's almost like a mechanic, right? You can't say pull it all back out.
Yeah, take it back out.
So I was like, okay, man, cool. I paid him, and off he went. And then, it was about a week, maybe 2 weeks later. A parcel turns up at home, and I open it. It's a really nice salt and pepper set. And there's a card from this company saying, "Just want to thank you for choosing us. We know you've got the choice. If there's anything you need in the future, we'd love to deal with you, or let us know if there's someone else we can help." And the reason I just keep sharing the story is because it's, relates to that thank you economy, and actually, recognizing your customers for having the choice, for supporting you, for advocating you. And they also know the fact that when people go to the barbecue or talk to their friends, it's not about the leak or the $1,800 invoice anymore. It's about the salt and pepper shaker.
Yeah.
And I've spoken about it at the event, and here we are again, and on podcasts. I mean, I've given them so much publicity that it just goes to prove the point that you don't need a lot of customers in what you're doing. You just need the right customers. And if you provide an outstanding service and you completely wow them through that experience, they're selling your service and your business any possibility they can. Yeah.
All right. That's it. And I mean, we were just talking about it before. Referrals is where a lot of my business comes from. And it's all about getting into those referrals, networking.
Yep.
It's about the salt and pepper shaker, the gifts, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Which is a massive, massive part of my business is gifts. Easter, Christmas, Halloween. I even did St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Settlement, 1 year anniversary gifts, all that sort of stuff.
And what's the most powerful out of it? Talk to Jordan, not 100 Facebook ads. It's you giving a gift to those people, and those people going, talk to Jordan.
Yeah, well, they're getting the gift from the real estate guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Talk to
So
Jordan. He
then-
sold our house. He's damn good.
Yeah.
Talk to Ben,
Yeah, it's got to be backed up with good work though, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, the salt and pepper shaker becomes they're the salt and pepper shakers from the dickhead who fucked my toilet. So, I mean that's first and foremost, but then tying that to something which is not, hey, every year I get a box of chocolates from 5 real estate agents. This just becomes irrelevant then.
Yep.
So that's the salt and pepper shaker, right? It was different and it was unique. I'm pretty sure it's still in the cupboard. But the thing is like, hey, it becomes the talking point because it is something different, but it's backed up with good work. Otherwise, you can have the gift associated with the don't go to that guy. Don't use that company. Yeah.
And the difference is a big part too. Like there's an agent around here who also does the gifts, does something slightly different. So for Christmas, it's summer. What fruit's in summer? Mangoes. So all of his clients get a tray of mangoes.
Nice.
But for Christmas.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. It's
Yeah.
mangoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing. It's who else would do that?
Yeah.
It's so expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is where his business comes from.
It's the mango guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Our real estate agent, where did we meet her? Yeah. I think we met her through buying the last house, and then since then have sold 2 other properties through her, and she has sold 3 of our friends' properties. Because it's like you say, it's that referral. Cool. Hey, who sold yours? This person. Any good? Fantastic.
Yeah. Again, it comes up at the barbecue too. Like a lot of, especially around here, there's a lot of, all neighbours speak to each other. Like there's one that I just recently sold, and every Friday, or pretty much the whole street goes to this house. They all have drinks, Wrigley's, whatever, on a Friday afternoon.
Yep.
And there was the next door neighbours were there when I went to do the marketing, get all the marketing prepared, all that sort of stuff. And I walked in, they were like, "Oh, we've just put a place under contract, so we're going to sell soon. So if you do a good job, then we might use you, but the pressure's on." I was like, okay. But I just continued with the same service that I normally give. And we got a great result for them. And I've been speaking to quite a few of the neighbours from that. They've spoken to their neighbours, that sort of thing. I've now got 4 listings coming up in that street.
Yeah, there you go. Well done.
So it's, the service, the referrals, just provide it.
Yep.
It gets
big
spoken
jigsaw
about
puzzle.
at the Friday
Yeah.
afternoon drinks.
Yeah.
Well, we won't keep you for much longer. We know
All
you're a
good.
busy guy.
All good.
We feed out every time on one singular question. Hit us, Jordan.
What is one single piece of advice that you would give to a young entrepreneur looking to start or is struggling with motivation and struggling to keep going? It's loaded. Everyone
has that
the
same
reaction.
like-
There's 3 or 4 things in there. I think, like, first of all, just get it going. It's not as hard as you think, and you don't need a great education. You don't need lots of money. You don't need a good network. You basically just need the desire and fucking get fired up, and you can do it. And there's proven time and time again where I think people are like, I'm not ready, don't have the confidence, maybe I need some more money, it's just get moving on whatever it is, because the lesson that you will learn throughout the journey is super, super important. You'll either learn and improve your business, or you'll learn, fuck it up and go do it properly next time. So the discipline's a hard one, because how do you make someone else disciplined? It's an internal thing. For me, what's my hack on that? I set a yearly plan that comes down into quarterly plans, monthly plans, weekly, and then a daily routine. And the daily routine is the only thing that I focus on, because if I do that, then that happens.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I said last year I'm going to do 20,000 push-ups in 2024. So fuck, that's a big number. Not if you break it down to daily. It's pretty easy. It takes about 45 seconds. So no bullshit excuses around, I don't have 45 seconds. Because if you go look at most people's phones, let's go have a look at screen time. Oh yeah, 4 hours on Instagram. So it's bullshit. People are lying to themselves about the time, the money, the opportunity. You just have to get your structure changed. And that desire and motivation usually comes from fear. I'm going to be broke. Fear, I'm going to be stuck in this job. Fear, I could lose my job. Time, I'd love to go on holiday, but I can't get any leave from work. Time, I'd love to spend more time with my kids, but I've got to do overtime tomorrow night. All that sort of shit usually becomes a motivator to give you the kick in the ass to go, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yeah.
And it's all within your realm, and most of people's excuses are just bullshit and laziness.
Yeah. I love it. If nothing changes, nothing changes.
No.
So get fucking fired up and make it happen.
Yeah. It's not that hard, and I think we're in the most luckiest time. What are you guys, 20-ish? When I was 20, I didn't even think the internet was around, or it was just starting. There certainly wasn't social influencers. There certainly wasn't free courses. There certainly wasn't YouTube. And everything you need to get started is there.
Yep.
Everything you need to grow is there. Shit, if I want to grow a business from 100 million to 1 billion, go on YouTube, how to grow a business 100 million. It's there. And you just start to implement and execute.
Dana White said in an interview the other day, man, this generation is all a bunch of fucking pussies. If you want to outwork them and you're going to put your head down to do it, you're going to run circles around everyone in this generation. I just sits here all the time,
Everyone
You're so lucky though, because he's right. Look at your competition.
I know, yeah.
Can you imagine being a 20-year-old in India starting a business? Because your competition will fucking out-educate you. They will outwork you. You know what I mean? They're happy to do 19-hour days, read 100 books, work at the mall, spend the mall, work at the market, go to the market, if we were in that environment, it would be so much harder for us to get ahead. But our competition is lazy, overprivileged, and it's kind of good.
Yeah. Well, Ben, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm feeling fired up. I want to go make it happen after this.
Nice.
Guys, follow Ben. You'll see all his handles below. Go support, go have a look over what he does, and go listen to his podcast also.
Yeah, and there's free resources there on the website, firedup.life, if people want a business plan template. There's ebooks, there's stuff there. It's all free just to help you get started or get into it and make it happen. Yep.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Honor, privilege. Appreciate it.
Cheers. That is episode 10 of Day One Energy, streaming now on all platforms.